everyone, and thank you for joining us today for today's webinar, Impact Leadership, Building Relationships that Drive Results. I'm Marianne Murphy, Vice President here at the Medical Fitness Association. I'd like to take a brief moment to introduce today's presenter. Kemper Sosa is a passionate leader in the fitness industry, dedicated to helping businesses and professionals create stronger connections, improve retention, and drive sustainable growth. As the co-owner of Applied Fitness Solutions in Ann Arbor, Michigan, he has built a thriving health and fitness studio that blends evidence-based coaching with a deeply personalized client experience. His expertise spans sales, leadership, and customer engagement, with a focus on equipping fitness teams with the skills to sell with integrity, communicate effectively, and foster lasting relationships. Beyond Applied Fitness Solutions, Kemper is the host of the AFS Health and Care podcast, where he dives into topics on health, fitness, and industry trends with experts and thought leaders. Kemper has been a speaker and workshop facilitator for several events and has hosted a number of workshops in various industries, sharing practical strategies on leadership, sales, and human experience. And you know what? I'll include the link to your podcast when I follow up with everybody after the webinar. So if you have any questions as we move through today's webinar, please go ahead and type them in the chat or Q&A section of your toolbar, and all questions will be answered in the end in the order they were received. Okay, Kemper, take it away.
Wow, that's a big intro that gives me a lot more credit than I feel like I'm due. So thank you for stating that, Marianne. Everybody that's watching, thank you guys for taking the time to be here live. This is a topic that I am wildly passionate about. I truly believe success in life and business, particularly our industry, it really starts with the individual, and it starts with the human component and each individual really expanding into the best version of themselves, and we're going to talk about what that means. And before we dive into things, just bear with me, everybody. So we're going to start relatively abstract and high level and deep, but we will funnel this into tactical things that you can go and apply into your fitness business, okay? So the goals for today, we're going to start with identity. And I think that's a good place to start because, like I said, identity and how we actually believe who we are and what we are able to do or not do. We're going to unpack how belief systems can lead to flourishing or languishing. And then from there, we are going to rewire our relationship with sales. Sales, if many of you are watching, you probably have a neutral or negative connotation with that word based on previous experiences. But I'm going to talk to you about how that can be the biggest unlock for human connection that there is. And then the third point, we're going to get very tactical here, this impact consultation framework. When you are meeting with members or a member or patient, how that initial conversation should go based on our experience to lead them to the most positive outcome. All right, so today we are going to dial in a little bit more on the sales side of things and how that can kind of get translated into your business and processes and frameworks to expand that part of the business. Obviously, in Marianne's introduction, there are aspects of business when it comes to retention and people development that I'm very passionate about, and we can have separate workshops on that alone. But today we are going to hone in a little bit more on how the sales role and processes can expand in your business. I looked at the list of all of you who are attending, and most people fit the bill here for who this presentation is for. So whether you are an owner-operator or a director of a medical fitness center, you're an exercise physiologist, or maybe you just started as a fitness coach or a fitness instructor, what we're going to talk about today applies to everybody. Whether you are just leading yourself, whether you're leading a team or massive groups of people, these principles that we go through in the frameworks, they are applicable to all aspects and all roles in the medical fitness and health and fitness space. Before we begin, who am I? Who's this guy with big, heavy eyebrows? So a little background on me, everybody. Marianne gave you a synopsis, but I did start in this industry back in 2009 as a personal trainer. I came in as a fitness professional. I had a personal training business out of my parents' garage at 18, and it was through the American College of Sports Medicine. And when I had that certification, man, I thought I knew it all. And I became very, very passionate about helping people, and soon realized that my passion for helping people started to outweigh my passion for the health and fitness sciences. So I found myself getting really attracted and really engaged with the people that were behind the health issue that we were trying to get to, and learning about what life was like for them and why their health mattered to them, their personal story. That became very intriguing to me. And fast forward to present day, I had various personal training jobs. My first real job outside of my business at home at 18 was at the YMCA as a personal trainer. I worked for Lifetime Fitness. And then I did meet Michael Stack, who you all know here, back in 2014. And from there, it was kind of like worlds collide, values and philosophy really collided. So present day, I'm out of the training side of things, and I do more of our business development and people development, which is exactly my passion point. So as you see here, these photos, they're about what matters to me most. We have our team up there, my family. You can see I have a 2.5-year-old who's like the light of my world right now. But as I've kind of gone through the evolution of being a personal trainer into a business owner, I've felt the pain. And I'm sure those of you on this call have also felt some pain during the process, particularly the time frame that I'm showing here. It's 2019 to 2020. That was a tough time for everybody. And back in 2019, you guys, we were doing very, very well as a business. Financials were doing well. We didn't really need to rely on the service-based team to support our financials. And then that big thing that happened in 2020 really knocked us on our butt. So this was the change from 2019 to 2020 with our business. We lost over 60% of our revenue like overnight. We had to lay off 75% of our team, and our profit dropped by 80%. So we were left with, oh my gosh, what needs to happen for us to get back on our feet? We shut down 2 of our locations. We didn't know if our current location here in Ann Arbor was going to continue. And we really had to go back to the drawing board and be like, what levers do we have to pull to survive? And this is where we had to really look inside and look to our people to help, particularly our team members. And fast forward to where we are now. Once we started pouring into our team members to have a higher connection and higher purpose to what we needed them to do for our business to survive and why it mattered to them personally, we started to see the shift in our business, and the financial health became very, very apparent. So here you guys will see the year over year percentage growth in revenue and the different buckets with our revenue in terms of ancillary revenue and our monthly recurring auto pay. Between 2022 to 2025 now, we have made strides back to where we were pre-COVID. And I would like to say that this is, due to some fancy new innovation that we had, but this is solely due to us pouring into our team and getting everybody aligned on what matters and what they need to focus on. So I can say that this is what happens when you have a very engaged team. And I'm going to talk about how we got our team to do that, how we got everybody aligned from a mindset and a skills standpoint to actually have real business impact. So I know leadership can be very fluffy and it can be very whimsical and values and all that, but how do we actually take that and apply it to real world business needs to actually measure the outcomes that we want? So in the chat, if you guys are on, put this in the chat because I want to unpack this when we get to the end. Who is your avatar? I saw the list that signed up, and we have a good mix of medical fitness centers, personal training centers, solopreneurs. So I want to understand, who is the avatar? Who's the person that you as an organization are speaking to? Who is your customer? Who's the person you're trying to help? Please put that in the chat because we're going to talk about that when we get to the end. I actually thought this was going to be a live show where I had people I could see and we can go back and forth, but Marianne informed me that that's not the case. So at the end, we'll talk about that. Okay, we're still high level here, you guys. We're going to talk about identity shift and why it's more than skills. So there's a good friend of mine, business owner, he is probably he's one of my mentors, and he is an incredible operator. He has learned skills that allow him to be in front of people and influence people in a way that does drive some business results. At the end of the day, though, his gap is that he has not made the shift from an identity standpoint. And this is someone, I've known for very many years, and he's had, probably 40 plus years of business experience beyond me. But he hasn't shifted as an identity. He views engaging with people as a way to learn and influence and learn skills versus solely changing who he is from his inner core to influence outcomes that he wants. So when it comes to identity, this is something that we need to take a pause and actually look inward for a second. Whether you are a leader of people or you are leading yourself, if you think about leadership, you have to not just learn skills, there's a layer deeper than that. There is a layer of actual internal transformation that needs to exist. And when you go from being versus doing, that is the place to start. So very many times leaders will start to learn or want to learn what things to do to be a better leader. What skills do I need to acquire? How do I run payroll, or how do I talk to this person on the phone, or how do I do profit and loss statements? Those are all important stuff. But before that, what are the fundamental shifts in your core, your being, that need to happen first? And if we break these down further, they go into belief sets and they go into your core values. So as a human being, we all have beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs, and we all have beliefs that are very expansive. Some of you have beliefs right now that are limiting your growth as we speak, and you may or may not realize it. But when we talk about belief systems, this is fundamental to having the impact that you want. And we're going to focus on beliefs more than values, because core values, again, they can be a complete separate workshop that we talk about. But think of core values as your compass directionally when it comes to making decisions and action. But I want to spend time talking about this belief funnel, okay? As a leader, we all have a set of beliefs, and we need to be very, very aware on which beliefs are leading us to the outcomes that we want in life and business, and which beliefs are limiting us. And as soon as we start to identify which ones are anabolic and which ones are catabolic, that's when the work can be done. And the goal here is to take all the catabolic limiting belief systems that we have and erase them or transition them into things that are more anabolic and productive. So many of you have probably seen this type of graphic where, like, okay, it starts with beliefs, which lead into your thoughts, which lead into your actions, which lead into the outcomes that you want. The outcomes that you want, being at the bottom of that funnel, they're all predicated on a very positive anabolic belief system. So what does that mean? What are beliefs, right? We all have beliefs. I want you to think about, when we talk about a belief system, you have to identify the right ones. If there's something that is against your belief, it will viscerally disrupt you. You will be viscerally bothered when you have a belief system that is being challenged or that you believe can solve a problem. So if you have a belief, and in our industry, this is health and wellness and ending chronic disease, or really stifling chronic disease, getting people to live longer and better, helping our youth health epidemic. So like when you have a belief and you have a problem that you're trying to solve, you must believe that the problem that you're trying to solve it should disrupt. It should make you viscerally emotional inside. And then on the flip of that, you should be connecting either your unique abilities or the unique abilities of the team or program that you have to solve that problem. All right, we're going to talk about why this matters so much in a little bit. But belief system is something that we all have. It's just a matter of which of my beliefs is working with me and which of my beliefs are working against me. And when you identify that, then we can start to articulate it. So in our world, we are trying to make people healthier. and more able in their life. And many times we have practitioners in our industry that will come to this question, and they will either have a yes to this question or they will have a no. And if you have a yes to this question, like, can you solve this person's problem? Can you help people live healthier and impact their life to the positive? Great. Articulate how you can do that. If you cannot, okay, we need to learn how to do that, or we need to find a different problem to solve. An example of this is I am a health and wellness professional. I cannot help somebody if they have a plumbing issue. It is out of my unique abilities, nor do I believe I can help them. Therefore, I need to go find another problem to solve, then try or learn how to be a plumber. But many times in our industry, we have professionals that are unaware or they're not equipped properly to help people solve these problems. They may have all the technical knowledge, but they might lack the interpersonal and the communication skills to help deliver and guide this person to the right decision that they need to make. So when it comes to that point, this leads us back to sales, right? We're all in a sales role, believe it or not. And we're going to talk about kind of rewiring our relationship here. But everybody that woke up today sold themselves on something, or they sold their clients on something. Marianne sold me on coming here to have this conversation, or maybe I did. Maybe I sold Marianne on saying, hey, I need to come on this webinar for the MFA and share some knowledge. But at the end of the day, we are always in a state, whether we realize it or not, that we are influencing people to do something. If you have worked with a client and they did not want to increase their weights on the leg press, and you as the coach said, hey, on set 3, we're going to go from 100 pounds to 115 pounds, you just sold them on increasing their leg press strength. When you're coaching your team members, you are constantly selling them on why they need to grow and learn and get better for their own benefit and for the organization's benefit. So this is something that we have to harness, and we cannot take our hat on or off. This is always a hat that we wear from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. We are constantly influencing ourselves and others around behaviors. If you wake up and you hit the snooze button, you just sold yourself that 5 more minutes of sleep is the thing to do rather than getting on with your day. If you stay up late, you just sold yourself that watching a little bit more Netflix is more important than getting your full 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep. So once we really wrap our arms around this concept of constantly influencing or selling, it doesn't become this thing that we are learning or switching on or off. It's just true. It's just a fact. We are constantly doing this. Knowing that, when we're in front of people, this is a very powerful piece of awareness. If we constantly are influencing people or others with our thoughts, we can use that to guide people to their best outcomes or what they are looking to gain. And again, in our industry, people that are coming to a medical fitness center, or they're coming to your clinic, or they're coming to your one-on-one training gym, more times than not, they're coming to you to solve a problem. And it is our responsibility to be very, very curious around what brought them in and why this actually matters to them. Curiosity is the #1 trait that will endear somebody to you. If you guys have ever gone out with somebody for dinner, social event, and they haven't asked you a question and they were just talking, how do you feel about them at the end? Probably some of you will leave that engagement like, man, that person was all about themselves. They didn't ask me one question. I feel like they weren't even listening to me. When you ask people questions through curiosity and a genuine want to learn more about them, this opens people up. And unfortunately, it's rare. We are living in a state of loneliness and isolation. And the loneliness epidemic is still very, very high. Our youth mental health is plummeting because of loneliness. So when people are asked questions about themselves and there's a real social connection, that is of immense power. So when you're sitting across from that person that walks in your facility, wow, curiosity is the thing that is going to open this person up and trust you. And the last piece of this rewiring with sales, it does tie to the belief system. We must have conviction that we can help this person, or we can help this cohort of people, or whether it's a patient, a client, our team members. We must have belief and conviction that what we are suggesting, or what our unique ability is to help this person, is the solution. And conviction is belief, right? When we all think of health and wellness, when you guys talk to somebody who does not practice any physical activity or movement or exercise, in all of our minds, you're like, oh my God, you're missing out on the drug of life here. Let me tell you about it. Here's what it does. Here's why it matters. Here's how you'll feel after. You will then get excited. And that's the thing that is very magical. So when you identify a problem that you can solve, your conviction, your energy and excitement must elevate. And that will influence the person across from you in convicting them that yes, they are worth it. And yes, this does make sense. And yes, you can help them. So there has to be this state of emotional increase when you are in conviction. And my body, and you guys are watching me talk, my shoulders are going up, my volume's going up, you see my eyebrows raised. So this state of conviction, when you're talking to people that need your help, this will translate into them. So we're going to go into something very, very tactical here. Okay. And before we do, I just want to say the way that I'm going to talk through how we unpack this consultation framework is not the only way things can be done. There are many ways, there are many processes, and probably some of you on this call have, where you have a great onboarding process of a prospect into a consultation into a member that is working just fine. This is the process that has worked for us immensely well. And I don't have all the data to show you here, but this process has increased our enrollment revenue. It has increased member lifespan. It has increased ancillary revenue. It has increased NPS. So if you're struggling with your onboarding right now, take some notes. I want to put you in the position of a new member that comes into your facility. And this is, this is the Medical Fitness Association. So we have a lot of medical fitness centers, larger clubs that, have a weight room and aerobics room and pools and basketball courts. They have everything. And some of you will irk at this example, but I want to walk you through it. A new member comes in and they meet with your salesperson, the intake person, the member experience coordinator. And at some point, there's always a consultation, whether it's right out of the gate, whether it's after the trial class. At some point, they have to meet with someone to understand how this whole thing works. And can you guys even help me? Most times, unfortunately, what will happen during the consultation process is you will have a prospect walk into your club. They will meet with the intake person. It's a 30-minute, get some information, take them on a general tour, and then share with them what the program options are. And at the end of that process, that person will most likely say, thank you for the information. I will think about it. Or what's arguably even worse, they will enroll into the wrong program. So with this framework, we actually spend a lot more time deepening our connection right out of the gate. Because I'll tell you what, some people are coming in with problems where they don't need to see the basketball court, or they don't need to see the tennis court. You might not even need to take them on a tour. Very many times we'll have people come in here where we don't show them the facility. We will sell $4,000 and $8,000 packages right out of the office because we've done such a great job actually connecting with who they are through everything I just talked about, with the problem that they want to solve and how we can help them solve it. So we're going to walk through that consultation process right now. Okay. So how our framework works. When members engage with us, the first thing that they do is they meet with us. They meet with the human being for an hour. And it's a 60-minute meeting where we will set the intention with them before we even sit down on the couch. And the intention is all about what we are here to do today in this hour-long consultation. So we have 60 minutes, and the goal is for me to learn as much as I can about you, and for you to understand how our program works, and if we are a good fit for you. Does that sound good? So when the member comes in, they understand how they're going to spend that time in the initial consultation with us. Next, this 60 minutes is all about discovery. Going back to the awareness and the cultivation and the conviction, this is where this part happens. Typically, more the cultivation. This is where curiosity really comes in. Not only do we want to understand what this person's health fitness goals are, we want to understand everything we can about their life, why this matters to them so much. Why are we starting now versus 6 months ago? What happened in your life that's causing you and I to have a conversation? What are your experiences in the past with health and fitness? What's worked? What hasn't? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your upbringing. Tell me about your health history. What are your hobbies? All of this stuff, we're really trying to understand who this person is and why this whole thing matters to them so much. And what that's going to do, it's going to cause a lot of vulnerability in the conversation. It's going to get this person to open up and share with you probably more than they shared with their family. And key questions to ask are right here. And this is what we call invoking change talk. So in this discovery process, we will ask these two questions at some point. And the first one on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is the change to you right now? This tells us a couple things. One, where this is on the priority list. And then two, the follow-up question to actually both of these questions is the key here. So we'll always ask why. If they rate us a 6, we'll ask why a 6 and not an 8? Or why a 6 and not a 4 out of 10? And what that is doing is it's driving the conversation into anabolic talk to have the person discuss why they rated this on the higher end, and that could reinforce why they are able to do this program or training package, whatever it is. On the flip side, if you ask them, why did you rate this a 6 and not a 10, then they're going to start sharing some of the obstacles that come up. Well, the drive is a little bit far. And, I actually don't believe I can actually stay with this because I failed so many times in the past. Or, my new hip that I have is it's still in pain, and it might flare up when I get going into the program. So you're either evoking change talk and then telling themselves why they can do it, or you're going to identify barriers that then you can talk through and work out with them. And then the second question is the same thing. How confident do you feel about doing this thing on your own? Right? Everything we've talked about, you want to make this change. Well, tell me about how confident, if we didn't exist, how confident would you feel evoking this on your own? And then it's the same thing. They'll give you an 8 or a 6 or whatever, but if they give you a number, you do that same framework. Hey, why a 6 and not an 8? And then they're going to tell you about the obstacles. Well, I need accountability. I tried it on my own a couple months ago and it didn't work. I tried this thing and I actually gained weight. And vice versa. Hey, why a 6 and not a 4? Well, I've tried things in the past and I was able to stick with them. I'm very successful in my career. I feel like I can apply those principles, to this thing in my life. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a better understanding of where their state is, where their state of mind is, come alongside them, and then talk them through obstacles or encourage the positive behaviors they are stating about themselves and why that's going to cause for a successful outcome in this program. Next, we've done all the discovery work. We understand the goals, we understand the barriers, we understand their lifestyle, we understand what it is that they want to achieve from this thing that they are seeking from you. So we move from discovery into educating. And when it comes to educating, it is not our opinion on what they should do. Going to the evidence is black and white. There's no opinion, there's no emotion. It is just what is true based on the research. And we can apply evidence to all or any goals that someone has. If it's a weight loss goal, there's a body of evidence that suggests here's what one does from a health standpoint to lose weight. If it's a habit changing goal, here's the evidence that supports habit change. Rehabbing an injury, here's the evidence that exists from an exercise standpoint to rehab an ACL repair. So we actually educate what one would need to do to achieve the outcome that they desire. And the way to frame this up is a question. It is, hey, Mrs. Jones, do you mind if I share with you what the evidence suggests to get you to your goals? Or do you mind if I share with you what others have done that have been successful to get to the goals that you just talked about? And then you wait and you let them answer, and then you educate them. Again, we are exercise professionals. There are exercise physiologists on this call right now, and there are educated fitness professionals on this call that can speak to this evidence. And here's the thing, you guys, if you can't, you need to go learn it. Or you need to have a resource. You need to have somebody on your team educate you so that you can pull this evidence to help educate the person. So we are not saying, hey, here's how our program can solve your problem. We are saying, here's what the evidence suggests one needs to do. So now you're building trust as the expert with this person. They've already become very, very vulnerable with you. And now they are more receptive to hearing what you have to say. And then once we get to the education or get through the education process, we then move into the offer. Okay. And the offer is your program. It is how you can help these people, whether it is a personal training package or a unique program that you have created. This is the thing that you have to attach to their problem. And again, if we go back to the top of this presentation, this is where belief comes in, you guys. So again, if you do not believe that your program can help them with their problem, then we do not go to this step. We refer out. If you do believe that your program or your offer can help them with your problem or with their problem, this is where we bring the conviction is. This is where we explain, here's what our program does. Here's how it's connected to the evidence I just talked about. And then here's the time frame that you'll need to be in it to achieve X outcome. So the offer that you make them, it is goal divided by time equals program. Regarding personal training, or I'm sorry, let me back up. Regarding their goal, whether it's let's just say it's a weight management goal that they have. With a program that includes an exercise therapy session and nutritional counseling, it is very likely that a healthy rate of weight loss is going to be 0.5 to 1 pound of body weight per week. Knowing that this person has a goal of losing 50 pounds, it's going to take at a minimum 50 weeks to get to the goal, if not more. And that is where you can set their expectations on, hey, we have this much time to get to this goal. Here's the program that will help you get to that time. Does that make sense for you? So you're not necessarily slapping a general program or offer onto them. You are actually distilling down what the goal is that they want, timelining it out for them, and then providing a solution. Same thing with habit change. You guys, there's tons of research on habit change that it is wide research, but it takes anywhere from 90 to 225 days to change habits or form a new habit. Believe it or not, exercise is a habit. And if somebody has never exercised, we're now looking at a minimum of 3 months to adhere to an exercise program. And that could be part of the offer. It's, hey, in 3 months, that's the minimum amount of time it takes to actually make change habitually. Our program incorporates this, and this. It lasts for about 3 months. Does that make sense for you? So you're attaching your program or your offer to their goals. You're breaking down how long it's going to take for them to get to their goals, and then how the program gets them there. Okay, and there are tons of different programs for personal training, for medical fitness. This is where the deeper work has to be done on the organization's end. Is what is the program that we have to solve our avatar's problem? That's the thing that makes this offer piece very, very unique. Now, after the consultation, if we do it well and it aligns, people enroll into your program. It would be great if I could sit here and tell you that if you follow these strategies and these frameworks, that you'll enroll 100% of the prospects that come through your door. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist anywhere. So you will have people that will give you objections to your program and why it's not the right time and why it's not going to work for them right now. Now, what happens typically is your salesperson or your fitness staff, whoever is doing the onboarding, will have an objection, and they will leave it to the person to reach back out to them when they are ready. And again, we go back to the belief system, you guys. We believe that everybody that we work with or comes through our doors has a problem on a health standpoint that we can solve. And if that is true, this is where it is our duty and our obligation to support this person as best as we can. And this is where I think the sales piece gets a little sticky. And we're going to talk through how to respectfully and effectively handle some of these objections. So anytime somebody throws up an objection to the program, we need to inquire more, whether it's cost, whether it's exploring other options. I need to think about it. We always need to better understand why. Tell me more about this. So first thing is, we always affirm and agree. Mr. Jones, this is not just an expensive program monetarily, but from a time standpoint, this is a lot of time. This is the big step. I completely understand. Tell me, aside from cost, what else shows up for you that might cause you from moving forward with a program like this? So follow-up questions, they do one thing. They either affirm the initial objection or they actually unveil the actual objection. But follow-up questions get you back into the conversation to learn and explore more. Same thing with, I need to think about it. I totally agree. This is not a small decision. This is a large decision. I don't blame you for not thinking about it. Tell me, after our conversation, what are the things that showed up that maybe we need a little bit more clarity around? And then you're back into the conversation with this person. You're better understanding what it is that's keeping them from moving forward. And then you can work through that and get them into the program more times than not. But if not, and they actually do need a day to think about it, or the cost, like they just don't know what their financial situation is, that's fine. But don't let them leave without booking up a follow-up. So more times than not, all of you that are on this call, you have resources that you can share with these people, whether it's bringing them back in for a complimentary assessment so that they can actually see what it is that you do, a complimentary session, even just a follow-up phone call. Like, you need to keep nurturing them towards this thing that they want for the betterment of their health, because that is our belief system. That's what we are here to do. So what works in a lot of industries is, in our industry, in a lot of different organizations, health and fitness, is the drop offer. Mr. Jones, I totally understand what you're saying. This is a big decision. It is costly. I get you need to think about it. The next step that I think would make the most sense is we're going to bring you back in. We're going to have you meet with Daniel. And Daniel's going to do an initial onboarding assessment just so you can see how we operate. All right. And this will be totally on us. I just want you to get a better sense of how this works. Does that make sense? Okay. So then you book the next session, and now she's going to meet with Daniel. And then Daniel's going to give her an amazing experience. Now she's going to have more trust. She's going to have more insight on how this whole thing works. And then from there, we reconnect her with the program. All right. Now, obviously, what I'm saying here takes build out and it takes processes, and I understand that. But that's the work that we need to do here. Okay. And that's we can go deeper into that workshop. There's all different workshops we can expand from this one. What I'm trying to give you guys is the fundamentals of framework and how to think through things and processes just in your initial onboarding conversation with new members, and how to go about that to build a lot of value. So, wrapping up the framework of the consultation and the mindsets that we need to have an effective consultation and have real impact, it starts with the identity. All right. The identity is the thing, you guys, that you cannot turn on and off. You cannot turn your leader hat on when you're at the organization and shut it off and take it off when you get home. Like, you can't be one person here and another person here. You can't be anabolic at work and growth oriented and speak in front of your team, but go home and stay up late and watch TV and not develop yourself and ruminate on relational things. Like, you have to be that person all the time, from sun up to sundown. You go to bed the same person that you are as you wake up. And this identity shift, again, it goes into actually rewiring who you are, what you believe. And another way to attach this is, how do you when you envision the most successful version of yourself or a very successful mentor that you have this idea of how they operate. Great. Unpack that and then mimic that and adopt that. Adopt those behaviors. So starting with the identity shift is the key and the foundation to learn the skills that need to be built on top of that. When you are in a sales role or you have a sales responsibility, it is a relational thing. It is not a tactical transactional thing. So we need to rewire our relationship with sales to actually helping people and cultivating real relationships. And this is not just the salesperson who does all the intake. This is the general manager. This is the fitness professional. This is the admin staff. All of this is centered around relationships. And the more that you can get curious and build a real, authentic, genuine relationship with somebody very quickly, that translates to revenue. And then the winning framework here, you guys. Again, those of you that are on this, you very well may have a framework that works for you incredibly well. For those that are struggling with the onboarding piece and connecting with people right out of the gate, this has worked for us for many years very well. It will continue to. It's a staple of how we onboard people. Spending the upfront hour that we do not bill for has been shown to be a very wise use of time for the initial impression of the member we're trying to help. If you QR code scan this image, this will give you all of my contact info, cell phone, email, social, where you can follow me or connect with me on. But I do appreciate all of you taking the time out of your wildly busy days to be here and listen to me. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us today. If anybody has any questions, and this is your opportunity to ask questions, go ahead and put it in the chat or in the Q&A panel. Amy says, thank you. That was great. I think, that whole piece about being your authentic self, really, being who you are from sun up to sundown, not just when you're at work. I think that's just so wonderfully key. Christine says, thank you. I just want to let all the attendees know that you will receive an email with an evaluation link for today's webinar, and it includes a spot to indicate which CEC certificate you'd like to receive. Oh, I see little heart emojis going up. So please be sure to complete the survey, even if you're not looking for a CEC. We'd love to get your feedback on this and for planning future educational webinars. Speaking of which, our next webinar will be next Wednesday, April 30th. I can't believe it's April 30th already. It's entitled From Excuses to Enthusiasm, Boosting Senior Fitness Participation and Retention. That'll be with Dr. Aaron Aslatskin, an assistant professor and director of exercise science at Crown College. And lastly, we also have 2 medical fitness summits coming up. So you can check out on the events calendar for more information. You can download the agenda, you can get hotel information, but most importantly, you can register for these wonderful events. And certainly on that same events calendar, that's where you'll see the rest of our webinars. So I'm not seeing any questions, but we certainly have thank yous. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and to Kemper for sharing your time and your knowledge, and what has worked so well at Applied Fitness Solutions.
Appreciate you, Marianne.
That's awesome. I think a lot of times, we like, okay, onboarding, you think you're trying to save time for the person, get them in and out. But I think really spending that extra time sounds like it has paid off in spades for you guys.
For sure. And this is where, the team development piece really comes in. It's the work on the person that's doing the intake, or the person that's running the class, or that's, assisting the customer service. It is pouring into them and having that person actually understand why what they're doing actually matters for them, and how do we connect that person's purpose and values and belief systems to the organizations. And when those two things fuse, everybody's winning. So
Right.
it becomes in their best interest. The person who's answering the phones or greeting the new members, it is now in their best interest to show up as that version of themselves, as well as the organization. So it's a shift that has to constantly be nurtured.
Right. No, I always say everyone within the organization has the opportunity to make or break an experience for, you know,
Totally.
whether you're answering the phone, folding towels, no matter what you're doing, you represent the organization and you have every opportunity to make it a great experience. So,
100%.
yeah. Well, I won't keep you, but thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Mary Ann.